these are pretty much all your samples.
Okay.
Yeah, just gives you a greater diversity to search. But you could go to here, which is just samples, right? Or all results, which is going to be Ableton and the samples.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So which one did you choose?
So I'm just going through, I'm selecting just 16 different toms of my choosing. I got like that one, put that one in. And you know, Ethan said a funny thing. It's like, hey, should they be in key? You know, if you have toms that have tone, we might have an issue. For this instance, I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue because we're just going to use it as a break. However, if you're in a certain key and the tom has like a lot of tone, you probably want that tom to be in key.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you're totally right. Like you might have to go in here and edit the key for certain ones.
Right.
But if you had an entire song, we're going to be deleting everything but the drum break, because space is actually the best weapon of volume. Because if you only have one thing available in your mix, you can turn it up like dramatically. If you have 20 things, you can only turn everything up so much, right? But if you have just one thing happening in your break, i.e. you delete everything else but that break, you have the audible perception of your ear, like, oh, that's the only thing that's there. It's louder by default because there's no other things that your ear can pick up on. And that's like literally just a perception trick. So what we're gonna do is, I just want you guys to load up all your toms and tell me when you know that's done. I'm still working on
How do you get
so.
that drum right?
What this does, since we have basically stacked all these toms on top of themselves, is now we can sequence each one individually to themselves, and we can change the pattern and the rate of that. So the trick here, you guys, is to, so we have the arpeggio, right? Mm-hmm. What is really imperative about this and the settings hereof is the style, the groove, and the rate. So automatically the arpeggio rate, or the arpeggio style, begins on up. What we want to focus on are these three right here: random, random other, or random once. I tend to like to go random just because that's going to randomize each one of these toms independently, and that will give us a really kind of unique groove and rhythm. And this groove can maintain its straightness, or you could swing it. I like to swing it because it gives like a little bit of slump and a little bit of groove. So, and we'll compare these two, and that way we can really hear the audible difference. With random tone means it won't play any two that are next to each other. It has to play one like away from the next one. Random once means it'll only play each one once. So basically it'll go off, and if you have 16 notes, it's gonna play them. So it's gonna play each one only once. You know, so you can kind of have a lot of fun with that. I do just like random though, because then you just luck out, and usually it lucks out more so than not. So that's the one I really choose. So yeah, guys, it's like pretty much how you make drum breaks really easily. In my class, I showed them how to do audio, and I showed them this technique too. And like, no one does the audio, everyone does this technique because it's way easier. But if you know rhythm and groove, you can place your toms on the grid to where you know they should be. If you don't, you can just luck out and randomize your patterns with an arpeggiator and have fun. And then freeze and flatten the audio, same thing. So it's just a really good technique for like making your own drum breaks unique. Because they're gonna be different every single time. So uniqueness is there. So in terms of drums, you guys, drum breaks, drum builds, or snare turnarounds. Let's do snare turnarounds right here, because this is a really easy way. So what we're gonna do is we're going to load up a simpler, and this is just to solidify if you guys didn't take note of the first half. We're gonna pull up a simpler. I'm going to pull in a different snare. You can do this with anything. I've done this with like vocal breaths, I've done this with percussion, I've done this with toms, I've done this with snares, with claps. You really kind of go outside the box here. But you know, if this is a snare turnaround, let's make a snare turnaround. So we're just gonna go and type in a snare. Let's get a really soft snare. So this one has a little bit of tone, which could be an issue. However, since we're gonna be using it as a snare turnaround, it shouldn't be an issue. So what I want to do is create a MIDI clip here, and when I do that, I want to select the octave that sounds the best for this particular sample. So I want to go a little bit higher than that, kind of like right around there. And of course, you know, this is going to be determinative of your key. You want to relate this to the key of your song, because remember, a simpler has pitch, and where you put it in terms of octave is going to be pitch correlated. So we want to, we'll just overlook that for now. I just want you guys to understand patterns. So we're going to go over here. I want to start with a 16 triplet this time. So I'm going to do 16 triplet. I'm just going to do the ladder technique. And then we're going to go triplet 32nd to get a little faster. And then let's just go regular. Actually, let's keep it triplet. Go back to 16 triplet. Yeah. So with that, we have that, and it creates another snare turnaround. But it's like a very easy way to create turnarounds, to refresh your drum beats and drum cycles within a matter of minutes. All you gotta do is pick the octave in which your snare sounds the best, or your sample sounds the best, and do the ladder technique. Basically taking one note, placing it on, and just duplicating it. And you're just going down, and you're just completing that pattern. You can do this as many times as you guys want, and you can change your pattern. But it's like selecting this, Command D, and you press up or down in the air to do the ladder. If you want to go up, you just go up. And you're good. You know?
So why do you use simpler again for the?
So simpler is just a simplified version of a sampler. Like, we're not going to be manipulating the parameters of this sample. All we want to do this is for the pitch. Is the pitch.
Oh, because it pitches in the.
Exactly. So like it pitches in the sampler as well, but you know, sampler takes a little bit more CPU. So if you can use a simpler in to compensate for that, you might as well save a little bit of power in your CPU.
And then for the first one you did, sorry, I was also writing down like so. How do you play the one that you did with the break?
So like the break, right? Like drum break.
Yeah, because you said not to play all of it at one time. So.
Oh yeah, so that's like without an arpeggiator, right? So you just need to make sure there's an arpeggiator on there. Otherwise.
Oh, okay. But with it on,
right.
You can play it and it'll just.
Exactly. So if there was no arpeggiator on here, it would basically be playing like 20 toms at once. And what that means is your monitors would destroy themselves. Because like a tom by itself is already loud. So just make sure the arpeggiator is on before you press play. Because I pressed play when they all happened, and I thought I went deaf. So it's one thing you have to keep in mind. This technique is not foolproof, and that's the only thing about it. So make sure before you press play, your arpeggiator is on there. Otherwise, it's going to play them all at once.